Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hamza.
Assalamu alaikum, my name's Anwar, and this is In Conversation with Nujum Sports. Well, Hamza, listen, we're going to start the interview.
Okay,
it's great to be here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Actually, we came to your debut for Watford against Burnley. Myself and everyone here at Nujum. We actually opened the prayer room that day, which was an amazing experience for us. Obviously, using the prayer room, staff, fans, it was a great experience, but obviously a good win on the pitch. And that was your first game.
Yeah.
What was it like? You settled in well? How's your time been at Watford, and looking forward to a season ahead?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. You know, I think I'd only been here the day I trained, maybe the day before, and then the manager sort of pulled me and he was like, "You're going to play tomorrow," which is, I guess, throwing me in at the deep end. But it's why I came here. You know, I came here to play games and improve my game, and I feel like the manager and this team that we're building here can definitely do that.
I think that's important though, isn't it? Sometimes you go to a new club, you don't know how it's going to work. Next day, right, you're in. But like we was at the game, obviously a great win. I was really impressed with the way Burnley played as well. That's some really good young players, but obviously good to get your first win in front of the crowd and a good start.
Yeah, I think it's not the Burnley that we're used to seeing. Obviously, Vincent Kompany's gone in there and he's doing an amazing job to turn it around really over what he's had 2 months and then a month of pre-season. So for him to obviously get his ideas into the team will take a while, but from what we've seen and what I've seen watching them, and he's got him going.
But when I saw that, obviously I've been watching your career for a while. Obviously there's not many Bangladeshi players that play in this country, if ever. Yeah. In fact, there's two of us sitting here now, which is pretty rare. I don't think there's ever been a conversation with two Bangladeshi football players having a chat about all things football. But when I saw that you came to Watford, obviously Watford's a club I know really well. I lead on the Fans for Diversity campaign, which is an FSA campaign, and we do loads of work with all the fan groups here. So I thought it's a perfect marriage. Hamza's come to Watford. I do loads of work with the club, and we opened up the prayer room that day. Is that something that do you think is sort of a positive thing nowadays? Because I signed for West Ham in '97, and the thought of a prayer room, a training ground, or a club, literally was something that I would never really thought would happen. But actually, Watford have one. So do a lot of clubs now in the Premier League and across the pyramid. What's your thoughts on that? Is that something you think's a positive thing for the game?
Yeah, massively. I think the game that we're playing now is obviously, like you said, a lot different to the one that you were sort of brought up on. I think it's all inclusive and it's all about bringing people together and from different backgrounds, different societies, different religions, races. So I think it's so important for people like that, especially. I think it's the comfort, you know, making everyone feel as comfortable as possible, which is by opening a prayer room as you're facilitating to people's religion and faith. So it's massive. I've seen Blackburn do it as well. Blackburn's got one on stadium. I think they did it last year as well. So it's for everyone, I guess. For our Asian and our religious parents, it's eye-opening. You know, it's showing that the game's changing and it's willing to accept people's differences.
I think one of the things that we did at Sutton United last weekend, we opened up their prayer room with Nujum Sports, and I did an interview, and I actually said, like, sometimes you don't realise how important the details are. So if you're a player and you know you've been in this situation, I was in this situation where it might be transfer window time, you're looking to go to a different club, or you're a young player and your parents are helping you make that decision. Sometimes the little things are massive, don't you think?
For sure.
You know, like if you're a player from a Muslim background, for example, or even Christian, you're a Jewish player, or any faith.
Any faith, for sure.
You go to your mum and dad, you know, what club do I go to? You know, what does everyone do? They usually Google. You know, and if you see a club's got a prayer room, those small details can. Do you think they're big enough to make a player maybe decide,
sure.
You know what? Yeah, I'm going to go to that club as 100%.
I think, well, when I made my decision, I was, I think, 7, and it was Forest and Leicester, and I'm in Loughborough, so it was like literally 20 minutes either way, and at the time the clubs were probably at the same level, both in the Championship, obviously really big clubs, but my family just had a really nice feel about Leicester. It was very multicultural even then. There was like a couple of other Asian boys that were sort of going to these open days, you know, before you sign, probably for an academy or whatever. So there was there, and you know, it was nice for my parents to be able to sort of talk to them and feel like they have something in common, you know, because like you say, it can be a scary place walking into a footballing environment, you know. It's a very cutthroat business and it can be quite hostile. But I think we went to Nottingham Forest game, actually, the first football game I ever went to. And my mum obviously has a hijab and stuff, and my little sister, I think my little sister was there. But we walked in, there was about 7 of us Asians walking into the Forest on a midweek game, and it looked honestly like about 30,000 people just like watched us walk down the stairs, you know. And then we went to Leicester not too long after, and the feel was really different. We felt really, really settled and really welcomed, and I think that sort of solidified my decision and obviously made my family and me feel a lot more comfortable.
See, for me, that's amazing. Like the work I do now with the Football Supporters Association is trying to basically make sure the terraces kind of reflect the cities and towns in which we sit. So at Bradford, for example, I played at Bradford for 6 seasons in a row, at Dagenham, at Barnet. That was always in League Two. Massive club, massive attendance. Every time I used to go to Bradford, surrounding the stadium, literally, 2-mile radius, is probably 90% Bangladeshi. So I'm literally, when I used to play at Bradford, like a corner or a throw would go out, I genuinely would scour the crowd. Like I'd be looking around.
To see, yeah.
And people must have thought, like, what's he doing? But I genuinely was looking for, like, just to see if there's any South Asian representation in the stands. Because, listen, I'm no Lionel Messi. I was an old school centre half. But if you think everyone talks about, lack of Asian representation, there's someone playing in a stadium at a good level. Is that a reason to come in? And obviously, they never did. And working in the role I've got now, we've created up fan groups all over the country. So at Bradford, we've got the Bangla Bantams.
Yeah.
Started that 7 years ago, and actually now, aunties in hijabs have got season tickets. They're going to watch games. Yeah. They're making pakoras and samosas beforehand. I mean, that for you. As a player, if you're going around the country with Watford, Leicester, how would that make you feel if you see that in the stands? So sometimes I don't think. Maybe people don't realise how important it is, but for me, every time I saw like a South Asian person in a stand, it kind of made me feel really proud.
Yeah,
because it was like, this is change.
Yeah, for sure, and I think it's just following on how we're sort of moving as a country, and how I guess everyone's a bit more open-minded. But like you say, it resonates. You see someone that sort of looks like you, or is from the same background, it makes you feel just a little bit more comfortable. And like you say, seeing aunties and the hijabs in the crowd and stuff is something that you honestly 5-10 years ago you'd never expect to see.
I mean, when I started this job, I'd never thought that would be the case. And actually, one of the times we went and watched Rochdale on a Tuesday night, so Bradford Rochdale. I think Rochdale played in purple, and I took one of the aunties.
Yeah.
And obviously they walked up the cop. Bradford had got this really big stand.
Yeah.
And I looked back and I could tell, like her breath was a bit taken away. And she literally lives across the road. And we sat down, and I always get a little bit worried because I'm thinking I'm taking everyone to the game, like you did with your family. I'm thinking, what are people thinking? Rochdale scored. She's got up and celebrated. I was like, no. Like, she's looked at me, and everyone's looking at me. No one's looking at her; they're looking at me. But she was so excited with like the occasion that she just thought that's what you do. And I thought to myself, even me, I sort of thought we take for granted, don't we? Like football's in our life,
for sure.
But if football isn't in your life, how would you know? And she lives across the road from the stadium. She don't know what colour Bradford playing. Yeah. She just saw a goal and was like, well, they're shouting, they're celebrating, I'm going to get involved. But I mean, like I said, I think changes are happening, which is really, really positive. But I think the reason they're happening, I think the reason it's escalating more so is because of players like yourself, that people always say you can't be what you can't see. And obviously being there now with you at the top level, I think is an amazing thing. And it's interesting for me. So I signed for West Ham in '97, so it's 25 years ago. I feel very old, yeah. But I've been asked the question, Anwar, why is there such a lack of Asian representation in football? Seriously, I've been asked this question probably 4 or 5 times a week for 25 years.
Wow.
For the first time in my life, I can actually ask you. And in fact, if you answer it well, when everyone asks me again, I'm just going to say, just ring Hamza, ask Hamza.
So anyone wants to use this footage about
But on a serious note, like I've always said, there's a combination of factors. There's not just like one reason why. But the facts are the facts. There is a lack of representation, not just South Asians. People talk about black football managers. People talk about how many women are in the game, working, playing women's football. All those sort of things. But obviously, as me and you were talking as 2 South Asian Bangladeshi heritage players, like you must have been asked a question like me regularly.
Yeah, regularly, yeah. Like you say, I think there's so many different factors that lead to lead to the representation being quite low. I think firstly, for our parents or maybe my grandparents when they first came over, it's like I said, it's scary. It can be hostile. Like you hear bad stories, and football held a bad reputation for a while. And being from the religion that we have and being practicing Muslims, they wouldn't have wanted their kids entering a lifestyle of sort of clubbing and going out and partying, you know. I think we come from a background of really hard-working people who are very educational based, and for them, going out to play football, you're probably wasting your time.
Yeah.
Alongside with it being very difficult to make it at any sort of level in the game. So I think from the start, I think it's difficult for them to see, you know, they've worked so hard to come over here to give everyone a better life, and sort of they don't want to see you gamble yours away. So I think for the start is that they're trying to protect you and give you the best start to life. That's probably one thing, and then another thing is kids receiving racial abuse and not being made felt comfortable. You know, I think it can be difficult. You know, you don't want to put yourself in situations where you're not in control, and going into a very heavily white populated workplace is scary, you know, and along with that you get thousands of fans weekly and whatever shoutings, different kinds of abuse, which can be difficult to sort of to take or even to anticipate, you know. It can be in the back of people's minds from such a young age, is that, do I really want to do that because I'm going to put myself on show and open myself up to this kind of abuse?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I'm well versed in the answers because I've been answering it for 25 years. But when people talk about, like, you're a parent now, I'm a parent, both have 2 children, and obviously we want the best for them. But when people talk about, but South Asians always think education is as a primary route, I always answer that with, well, is that not a good trait of a good parent? Because you can still be a top-level football player and have a very good career,
of course,
and actually doing well in school, getting a good education, and potentially doing whatever it is you want to do is a good thing. But people also talk about stereotypes, and I've always been mystified by stereotypes because, again, everyone has their own interpretation of what they feel a South Asian player is like. But if there's such a lack of South Asians that have played at the highest level, like, where are people getting their stereotypes from? Now, I was a centre-half, probably not the best on the ball, but I loved to tackle. I could head it, a bit old school. Now, I spoke to one of my players, Harrison Paniatu, yesterday, who was at Aldershot, and obviously he grew up with you at Leicester, and I said, what's Hamza like? And he was like, he is a great guy. He is such a great guy. He went, but, and I was like, okay, what's the but? He went, Anwar, he loves to tackle. That's what he said, he loves to tackle. He goes, you know, he always wants to break up play, and he started giving me a rundown of what you're like as a player. I was like, H, I know that. But it got me thinking, because people say, okay, Asians don't play because they're small, they're slight, etc., etc. So there's 2, myself and you, who love a tackle, very aggressive, very big, very strong. So obviously, surely that smashes those stereotypes.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it is hard though, let's face it. I mean, you come through at Leicester, you're now at Watford, the surroundings here are unbelievable. Like, do you think some people actually realise how hard it is to get to the top level?
I don't think so. I think that I've seen a stat, I think it's like you're in 0.01% of the population, you know. I think, without dropping another stereotype, majority of little boys growing up want to play football or some sort of sport at an elite level. And I think people from the outside look in and see this sort of lifestyle that's portrayed of a footballer and think, nah, they've got it easy, like, I can do that, or I should have done that, or only if I did that. But like you say, just to become a professional footballer of any level, from any background, is ridiculously hard to make, you know. And so many sort of little steps you get through to get anywhere near it, and even with that, it can be over like that, you know.
Yeah, no, people don't realise. You know what? One thing, I mean, I always think that in life, when you talk about representation, I think the community can do more, football can do more, everyone can always do more.
Sure.
But one thing I've always found is that I've managed in non-league and I've played across the levels. There is still a lack of representation even in non-league and the lower levels. However, One thing, I don't know whether you agree or disagree with me, but you're at the top level. You've played for England under 21s. You've won the FA Cup, which, by the way, I've won the FA Youth Cup. So it's quite nice to know that there's been Bangladeshi hands on both the Youth Cup and the FA Cup. Yeah. So I got the FA Youth Cup done. So obviously glad you could do the FA Cup one. But
was that in black and white or colour?
it was in colour. It was in colour. We beat Coventry 9-0 in the final.
9-0?
Yeah, 9-0 in the final. To be fair, I don't know, listen, the team we had was ridiculous. We had Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, Jermaine Defoe, Glenn Johnson, Leon Britton, Stephen Bywater. Okay. And I was just there to just basically kick everyone that kicks those players. Anwar, just look after Joe and Carrick. But obviously when you won the FA Cup, that was amazing for the whole of the South Asian community, because not only have we got a player that's playing at the highest level, he's doing things that you can only ever dream of. And even lifting that trophy when I won the playoff final with Dagenham, like, to do that, it's like crazy. But to do it as a South Asian, you know that like there's people in Bangladesh thinking like this is really, really cool. But just talking about underrepresentation, like one of the things I look back on is my parents, because we just talked about parents and being a positive influence. Like my dad, I kind of shielded away from football because my dad's a short Bangladeshi man with a massive afro. Yeah. And I used to bring him to my games, but genuinely, I'd hear comments, racist comments, even from my own teammates. I'd hear people like, who's that on the sideline? And that sort of stuff. And I think, because I'm mixed heritage, sometimes maybe people didn't quite understand where I was from. But you hear racist terminology and it breaks your heart every single time. So what I did is I ended up just lying to my dad and sort of saying, oh, Dad, I've got a lift, I'm playing away. Yeah. And I kind of just felt like I wanted to concentrate because it was an added burden. Yeah, of course. That's the kind of personal thing, and obviously I'd like to think things have changed in society, but with your background, because we talked about how hard it is to make it, if you are going to make it, you need a strong support mechanism behind you, i.e. mum, dad, brothers, sisters. And what was that like for you? Because obviously for me it's a bit of a, not quite a nice experience, but what was that like for you?
I think that was probably the easiest bit for me. I think I've got such a big and tight-knit family. It's for everyone, I think, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, like everyone supports everyone just as much as they support anyone else in whatever they choose to do. So for me, it was a new experience for them, football, but like we used to have like Scunthorpe away and there used to be like 15 of us travelling down, you know. So in that aspect, I felt so comfortable on the pitch because I knew like my whole family were there watching me and wanting me to do well. So that was I think that was the easiest bit for me, and thankfully I had such a strong support system. Without it, I think I might have struggled in certain aspects, in certain ways, but to have them there supporting me every step of the way and sort of celebrating the success and also being there for me when I haven't maybe done so well and take my mind off it, you know. So it wasn't football 100% of the time, all the time. It was football, we speak about it, whatever, and then as soon as you get home, like, if you step out of line, do you know what I mean? It was very much of like, don't get ahead of yourself, but we're all rooting for you to get as far as you want to get to, you know. It was never any added pressure that we expect you to get to this or we even want you. It's just like, as hard as you want to work, you work, but like once you commit to something, make sure you give it your all, you know.
Yeah, it keeps you grounded. But I mean, so my son is on that journey at the moment. He's 13, and I was taking him to the academy sessions, and it's 4 times a week. Like the amount of driving you do. Was that kind of, you know, when you sort of stepped into the academy world at Leicester, because whoever you are, wherever you're from, like as a commitment just to get to training, that's if you live locally. Exactly. And that must have been quite stress for yourself.
No, massively. I think I've touched on it before, but it's like the sacrifice of not just me or even my mum, it's the sacrifice of my little brothers and sisters. Maybe they can get to go to clubs on these days because my mum or my uncle or whoever's driving me half an hour up the road and maybe 45 minutes because with traffic trainings at like 5:30, you know. So it's like everyone's giving up not just their weekends but their midweeks and evenings to get me to and from football. And I never once had any sort of anyone complain or anyone even like be disheartened about taking me to training. You know, I think for me, my family's like my biggest asset. You know, I think they've pushed me along the way, but they've made me feel so comfortable about it the whole way. And like we've all, like I said, genuinely enjoyed it together. Like we enjoyed it. Like they made the journeys enjoyable. They made everything fun. It was very much of a laid back, but obviously like exciting time for everyone.
No, I mean it's a journey for all the family, and obviously to get to where you are, they still, I bet they still follow you up and listen every day, match day, get me some tickets on the door.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the clubs can accommodate that. Just how important to you is, like, you know, for me, people talk about Asian representation, a Muslim player, what's that like? And obviously I've always kind of, it's not been a burden, but I felt like whenever you're meeting people, you want to give them a positive impression because they've never probably met a Bangladeshi Muslim football player before. In fact, they might not have come across a Bangladeshi Muslim person in general.
I think you two are the only Bengali Muslim players that I personally know have played in rugby.
Wow.
I mean, that's a stat that's alarming, but obviously it's something we should celebrate.
Of
because
course.
I mean, there's been players from Tower Hamlets actually that have Shahid Ahmed that have played for Wycombe Wanderers, scored a goal in League Two, so that's great. But in terms of like, do you feel that that's something you can do now? Because when I went to Bangladesh 3 years ago, everyone's talking about Hamza Choudhury, and I think it's great that, like I said, when you become a player, you get to the Premier League. When I left West Ham, went into sort of non-league and the EFL, Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol Rovers, it's almost like you fall off the face of the earth because you're not the next best thing, you're not playing for England. You've done that, you've played at the highest level, England under-21, won the FA Cup, and the impact that makes in Bangladesh is huge. You know, your connection with Bangladesh, is it something you're proud of? Because I'm of mixed heritage, but I feel Bangladeshi.
Of course,
and
yeah.
It's a weird thing when you live over here, you don't really know the impact you're making over there. But what's your connection with Bangladesh? And are you kind of, do you get the odd message on social media, or are you quite aware of what it's like over there?
Yeah, I am. Do you know what? I was surprised at the beginning. I think maybe because my family have tried to keep me as grounded as possible. When I first made my debut in my first few games and stuff like that, I didn't realise how much of an impact it would actually have until like the messages were flooded through, and my mum almost like sat up all night because her cousins and our aunties and everyone was calling from Bangladesh, you know, and it sort of opened my eyes up to like how much reach you do have as a professional footballer, especially a South Asian footballer. But no, it's definitely, I feel a strong connection with and want to tap into and want to help and want to sort of share my experiences with people. You know, you work hard and you reap the benefits, but for me it's also like wanting to share that with other people and sort of let them enjoy it with me, I guess.
No, most definitely. So you've been back to Bangladesh, you're looking to go again soon?
I am looking to go again soon, I think over the winter break, and see how many days off we get. I want to take my kids back there because I want to give them a bit of my childhood. We used to go every year back to Bangladesh from literally the age of like 1, and it's a different world, you know. And we live so in Hobbyganj, but then we live in Stangat, which is literally like the most rural place you can get like the generator and like pumping water for water.
Yeah, so obviously we're from very similar backgrounds, so if we ever needed a village football team, we'd be quite strong. But I mean, it'd be a bit of a shock. I mean, I was talking to my kids about going back to Bangladesh, and they're actually really excited because they've seen pictures of that. But I said, listen, if electricity runs out, there's no phones, no iPods, there's no TikTok, no Instagram. It's literally we're playing chess, or we're having a walk around and maybe gather the cows in. But I think it's important because obviously you can never forget where you're from. I mean, I think you've got a great chance of playing for England. I think having watched you and watched your career. However, towards the end of your career, is that something you'd ever flirt with?
Yeah,
playing
definitely.
for Bangladesh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. Like you say, I want to see how well I can do in these next couple of years, but I'd be more than proud, more than honoured to sort of go and play for Bangladesh and have almost more of a reach going back there more regularly.
So I actually got a call up once over Christmas, and I was at Dagenham and Redbridge, and my manager John Steele pulled me in the office. He goes, Annie, I got this letter from Bangladesh, and he's laughing. Yeah. He's like, they want you to go and play in a tournament in the Maldives. And it was almost like he thought it was a joke. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Gaffer, this is quality. I'm proud of this. He went, you can't go. I said, why? He went, they want you to go for 2 weeks. He goes, we've got a busy Christmas period. Now, obviously, in League Two, obviously you're fortunate at the top level. You have international breaks. You can go fly away and play where you want. Obviously, I didn't have that luxury, so I didn't go. I think, obviously, I had an injury towards the end of my career, but obviously one day, I'd love to give back. Maybe coach, maybe manage. So if I ever do that, I'm going to ring you up. And
No
then
problem.
obviously you said to me now, if you don't play for England, it's a potential.
Mhm,
So we can go and then we can go and see the village. But I think that's important because can you imagine like playing against the biggest countries in the world?
Yeah.
Regardless of
course.
what level you play.
Exactly.
Regardless of how good or bad your team is, it's kind of like where you're from.
Yeah, exactly. And I think football's is developing quite quickly in Bangladesh. You'll obviously know more than me, being back not too long ago. How long ago?
Yeah, I was back just pre-pandemic. I was in a refugee camp, and it was amazing. Like literally, the last time I went to Bangladesh, it's like going back in time. This time, they was like, "Oh, we're going Nando's." I was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, like, things are changing." There's 4G pitches above tower blocks.
Yeah.
But I think things are changing, and I think we're going to start to see that because we're seeing now like more South Asian, more people from all over the world playing, managing, coaching, and it just. I mean, I think back at we were just chatting about some of the players I grew up with who used to fast during Ramadan. And actually, when I was playing, it was like no one even spoke about it. It was almost like the Muslim players went and did that
just on their own.
Without no real support. How have you seen that change? I mean, you know, your faith and being a Muslim, and there are obviously other teammates from other religions, but as a Muslim in this country, seeing a game stop so people can break their fast,
crazy.
I was like, that is unbelievable. But obviously, I haven't played for a while. I feel old talking to you, but. What's it like now? I mean, is that conversation something that has had you in with your managers, your staff?
Yeah, definitely, and amongst I think sports scientists, which is important because the week leading up into the game it can be just as hard, you know. So they can taper sessions and recovery according to what your schedule is and what you're doing. And in all honesty, at Leicester especially, they were so good, like, amazing with it. They were like really hands-on, really wanted to give you the best stuff. Like they used to take dates away for us on the coaches and stuff like that. Obviously, Kola was there, who was fasting with the lads and stuff. But
did you receive our Ramadan?
Yeah. Wesley gave it. Did you give it to Wesley?
Yeah, we gave it to all of them. Wesley, Kola.
Yeah.
Eldin.
Eldin, that's it. Yeah, Eldin Jakupovic. Yeah. So
how did you find that Ramadan pack?
it was amazing. It's so good. I've still got the Tosby and stuff. Yeah, we got it at home back in.
I think that's like a sign, isn't it, of like.
Yeah, of how much it's changed.
Like how much it's changed. Like with the Nujum Sports Ramadan pack, it's like you go and you deliver it to players, and it's almost like some clubs get the support from staff, external staff, because at clubs now, literally, there's no stone unturned. You want to get the best out of your players, you've got to be that way. But at some clubs, especially lower down the pyramid, it's like you get the pack, and it's like. Wow, like people are thinking outside the box. People are thinking about the way I practice and what I can do. And I always say, and it's almost like a little bit of a mantra of Nujum Sport, which exists to support Muslim athletes. It's almost like we want the best for our players. And sometimes, like we said, the smallest details, a prayer room,
of course,
accommodating someone's needs and practices are massive. And I think we're starting to see that now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is coming a long way and quite quickly as well, which is promising. And I think with that impact, I think we'll see more of representation from the ethnic minorities. You know, it's, like I said, it's about feeling comfortable and feeling wanted and knowing that it's not going to be even that bit more difficult for you. You know.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And just interesting one. So growing up, lack of South Asian players, but my role model when I was a kid was Gary Lineker, believe it or not. I actually wanted to be a striker, but I never really saw like the whole South. You know, when you're young, you don't even think of it. You look at someone, you think, like, what a player! I want to be like him. And I ended up being a centre half. But when you were growing up, was there someone you looked at and went, great player, I want to be, or was there a role model, someone you looked at and was like, I want to be like them?
I used to watch Real Madrid TV. It was free, so we didn't actually have any of the sports channels. So Real Madrid TV was free. Right? I used to watch a lot of Zidane. I think he was amazing. Obviously not the kind of footballer I am, but he was obviously one of the best to ever do it. So I watched a lot of him, me and my cousin, and then I became an Arsenal fan, and I loved Vieira and Henry and Fabregas and them sorts of players. So, like you say, you don't sort of. I think it would be. I think if we had more South Asian players, I think, like I say, you almost resonate with them more, regardless of how good they really were, he would have probably been my favourite player. You know, like in a group of footballers, as a kid, you sort of look to someone who's maybe a Muslim or whatever, and they become someone that you look up to. So I think with more of us making it to the highest level, it should.
So in your bedroom, you had a poster of Anwar Uddin, had a poster of Zidane, yeah?
Right next to each other. Yeah.
Perfect. And also, like, obviously, like I said, I do loads of club with Watford, loads of work with Watford. I think they're one of the clubs that the FSA and Fans for Diversity do amazing work with. They've got the Proud Hornets, ISA, the group, loads of fan groups that are connected with the club in the community.
Yeah.
Again, do you think that's really important that clubs across the country start to do that? Because, you know, you could beat like Arsenal, I think, do it really well. You know, you go and watch an Arsenal game, it is quite reflective of the community.
Yeah.
And again, just if you notice with the clubs, you know, you're playing for, that the terraces are quite reflective of the city.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Leicester's a
very
diverse.
Very diverse.
But actually, if you go and watch a Leicester game, I went recently. We set up a Leicester for All group, and I was actually surprised with the amount of diversity that were in the terraces. I was like, this is quality. I was like,
it's almost impossible to get a ticket for a Leicester game nowadays as well. So, do you know what I mean? It shows that there are a lot of people from different backgrounds applying to get season tickets and wanting to take their kids to games, which is amazing to see. You know, it's not just like seeing the Asian dads or aunties. It's seeing a dad with his son, taking him to watch his game, you know, and stuff like that. Because, you know, that's memories you keep for a lifetime and can inspire you to sort of go along the football track or just enjoy watching it. You know, which is just as fine. So.
I suppose that's the price of success, that you win the league. I mean, a lot of the stuff we do at the bigger clubs, you know, your Arsenals, your Chelseas, you want to encourage loads of people to go and watch underrepresented communities, but actually there's a waiting list. Some Premier League clubs, it's like 20,000 waiting list for a season ticket. So there's so many people, there's an appetite now, but actually you can't go and watch a game. But maybe VAR is going to maybe turn some fans away, because on the weekend we've had,
causing carnage.
It's been a bit crazy. Maybe those that are watching live football will think, I'll give it a miss because I don't know what's going on. But I think we're in a good place. I mean, I look at reference points. I started playing in '97. I've played, I've coached, I've managed, and I look at your journey and where we are. The support available, I think we are in a good place, and I'm hoping for lots of positive change. And I think you can be a role model that kind of leads the way, and hopefully, like me, everyone will have Hamza Choudhury posters in their room. I've got them in my son's room, so I'm looking.
That's important what Anwar said. You're a role model. Like, whether you like it or not, there's people looking up to you.
Yeah.
It's important because Muslim, first and foremost, you're Muslim, right? And
of course.
Everyone's looking forward to you. Like, Hamza's won the FA Cup. You know, I think you started that game as well.
No, I came on.
That picture with you and Fafana, like, there's two Muslim players for us. Like, for me, that's huge.
Yeah.
Obviously, when my mum was alive, right, she was telling me, like, we used to go madrasa, like, and like that's one of the reasons I couldn't make pro, because I was but like, if my mum was alive, like, if I told her, like, there's literally a Bengali player mum from Sydney in the Premier League, she'd be like, get out of here. Why didn't you become a footballer? You know? Yeah,
and do you know what, I've had funny interactions with older aunties and stuff who would honestly, I'd never ever expect to interact with. Just not even aunties, I mean like older Asian women that I've walked past in the street, and they honestly, they've probably never watched a football game in their life, but they come to congratulate me and tell me how well I'm doing, which obviously bursts my heart with pride and do you know what I mean?
Probably your grandparents and your mum, like, they've come over here, and growing up, it wasn't easy, 70s, 80s.
No, exactly.
Working, and obviously even racism around that time as well, it wasn't easy. But like, to see you, like, you made me proud. Yeah. I'm not old like Anwar. I'm still a spring chicken. I'm 35.
But you know what? It just shows. You know what? Even it is harder, and it's hard, but it is possible. Do you know what I mean? It's possible, and I think I would encourage anyone, regardless of who you are, like, play football. Like, what an amazing opportunity. Like, forget Premier League is difficult, but if you can play at like League 2, League 1, even non-league level.
Wow, you're non-league level now is ridiculous.
That's one of the reasons, like, when we started Nujum Sports, and like, Muslim athletes are, like I said, the role models. Like, regardless of what you do in your private life, for me, like, you are the pinnacle what we're looking at for my children, like my sons, like they ask me literally, like which they're United fans, they have no choice. Fans, right? But like we're playing Arsenal on Sunday, like that. It's Pogba playing because for them they obviously he's left, but
he's Muslim.
Pogba, they're looking for Salah and
exactly.
Kante, and I think it's awesome. Obviously we've got generally 2 years ago, bro. I never thought Nujum Sports would be here where we've got the 7 ambassadors, we've got Moin, Adil, Saqib, cricketers.
Yeah.
So Adi's an ambassador, Sophie, Khadija, first hijabi jockey. So for us, like, it's huge.
Even like the names are important because there was a conversation I had. So Liverpool got this supporters group called the Anfield Rap that are huge. They've got their own, like they have full-time staff for a fan group. They've got an office, and they were having a conversation with me. And someone phoned up and said, "Why is Mo Salah called Mo Salah?" And then everyone was like, "What do you mean? That's his name. His name's Mohammed Salah." And actually, it sparked a conversation because they were like, "Well, he embraces his religion, but why is that? Where's the abbreviation come from?" And sometimes it is that, because I think it's important. Like the more Muslim names you have on team sheets, even in non-league, like I used to, when I was at Aldershot, we play against a team, it says Muslim now, who's this guy? Google him, I'm going to sign him. But like, I think it's important because...
Obviously my full name is Ibadur Rahman, right? So Abdul Rahman, but I call myself Ebs. Like my email is Ebs. Jamus is Ebs, but that's not your name. The name's Ibadur Rahman. I said, come on, it's Ebs, isn't it?
I know, man.
But to be fair, I've got a lot of, like, I grew up with a couple of my best mates. My best mate's from Nigeria. His name never uses, called Kola, never uses his name because it's literally about 16 letters long. And his mum always says, "Why you don't use your name?" Because I gave you that name, it's got an amazing meaning. But I said, you know what, you should, like for work and stuff, you should, like as a point, like use it. Obviously you can't use it every day because literally I'm his best mate, I'm not using it. But, I think sometimes like it's important, isn't it? Not just for the Muslim community, but like your name, like you've named your kids, right? You ain't just
picked
put out the hat and gone,
no.
John, like Ebs.
No, exactly.
Like there's thought that goes into it, right?
Hamza, have you got a house name?
No.
All of them house names.
What do you mean?
Like not Hamza, but like another nickname.
No, I don't know.
You got a house name, Anwar?
It's the first time I've ever heard of a house name.
We've got house names. Most Bengalis have house names.
Really?
Yeah, like
no,
Ruben. Like my house name is Ruben, my nickname.
Really?
Most Bengalis I know, they've got house names. Like your mum called you something like when you're like little. I'm sure she must have.
Well,
trust me.
Pet name sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like
Like
your mum names.
I do call a lot of my cousins by nicknames, but I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so like your cousins will have full name and they have a nickname.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
To be fair though, speaking to Hamza today's made me like, I'm going home, I'm having a go at my dad. Because I think like the fact that, I mean, you can speak Bengali and I've always, it's this niggling thing with me because like I'm obviously proud of where I'm from, but when you don't know the language or you can't speak it confidently, some of the situations I find myself in, you know, like I've done interviews and stuff and everyone's speaking Bengali. I'm like, I need a translator. But, like, it's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, of course.
What's your favourite Bengali curry?
Chicken.
Chicken and rice.
Chicken, potato.
Potato.
Yeah, my auntie. A little bit of nugget, not before match day though.
Scotch one, basically Scotch one.
Oh yeah.
You don't
What
want
about you, Anwar?
Oh no,
When's
listen,
last time?
I used to prefer lamb. Sorry, beef. I used to prefer beef. But
my mum and dad cooked me yesterday. I took Abs to my house. I took one of my friends to my mum's because he's like, obviously he's Bangladeshi.
Bengali curry?
Yeah. So my mum cooked yesterday. He's like, your mum's cooking a curry? I said, yeah. I said, he went, whatever, your dad's cooking. I said, my mum's cooking curry.
Is it? Yeah.
So I said, come in. He sat down. He was like, bro, this is proper dough. Bro, this is proper dough. And obviously my mum's got the chutney. Yeah. And my mum's got the proper South Asian plates, you know that they've got the design around the outside that she's had for years, So she's putting the plates down, and obviously Abs is like, because obviously he sees me, and it's a weird one when you mix heritage because people sort of don't really
know what side
the Bangladeshi community don't see me as Bangladeshi. The English community don't see me. I'm just like,
nah, trust me, we see you as Bengali. Trust me.
Yeah?
The Bengali community in Tower Hamlets, we see you as Bengali.
Well, Abs don't. So he came round yesterday.
He's not from Tower Hamlets.
He came round yesterday and my mum's obviously like put the dal out and she's like, okay. then made some chapatis. It's like, whoa, like, and she's frying them up. Then she made a lamb and sweet potato. Oh my God! And he's like, I have to wash my hands. I've got to eat my hands because I feel like this is proper. And I was like, what did you expect, bro? Hamza, thank you very much. It's been an absolute privilege. Seriously, I mean that. And obviously a big thank you to Watford Football Club, who have been amazing on this journey, the first club to sign Nujum's Muslim Athlete Charter, and will be doing loads of work moving forward with the club in the coming season.